He was a respected scholar, but his wife was never faithful. When her sudden betrayal came to light, he did not confront her in anger. Instead, he chose a far crueler punishment. He asked her to accompany him to Meitianfu in China, where he had accepted a medical research post. But in 1925, cholera was raging there. She knew going would be almost certain death. Without hesitation, she refused.
In fact, it's monstrous of you to even ask me.
Fine. Then I shall file my petition for divorce tomorrow. I'm afraid that you have thought me a bigger fool than I am.
The moment those words left his mouth, her affair was exposed. She rushed to apologize. Then, shamelessly, she claimed that she and Charlie were truly in love. She begged her husband to be generous and let them be together. Walter let out a short laugh. Her innocence amused him. He proposed a wager. If Charlie, the acting British consul, would immediately divorce his wife and marry her, he would step aside and grant her freedom. But if Charlie refused, she would travel to Meitianfu with him. Confident and certain of herself, she agreed. She went to Charlie and told him their secret had been discovered. She asked him to give her a proper name, to live openly and honestly together. What she did not expect was his first reaction. He wanted distance immediately.
You don't want a divorce.
It's not just a question of my marriage.
Then what is
Do you
it?
have any idea of the importance of my station here?
His hesitation said everything. She forced a bitter smile. In that moment, she realized she had been the fool. Furious, she stormed home, and there she ran straight into her husband.
I'm coming with you.
Good. I thought you might.
For a brief second, she believed he had forgiven her. She had no idea the nightmare was only beginning. From the moment she betrayed him, his heart had already died. They could have reached Meitianfu in just a few days by boat. Instead, he insisted on traveling slowly by sedan chair, claiming he wished to enjoy the scenery. Under the brutal heat, through swarms of mosquitoes, they endured the journey. But the worst came when they passed a cliffside road and encountered a funeral procession. The dead had succumbed to cholera. Fear settled deep in her chest. After 14 exhausting days, they finally arrived. The house waiting for them was in ruins. It had been abandoned by a family destroyed by cholera. That night, their only neighbor, Waddington, came to introduce himself. He seemed astonished that a woman would willingly come to such a dangerous place. He assumed she must love her husband deeply. She responded with nothing more than a polite, professional smile. Waddington warned them cholera was merciless, but that was not the only danger. The local population did not welcome foreigners. They would need to watch their safety at all times. He asked if she had been vaccinated. She glanced at her husband and lied. She said yes, vaccination offered no guarantee. But what suffocated her more was her husband's complete indifference. Later, she asked him about the symptoms of cholera. Pretending curiosity, Walter answered bluntly, in the first 36 hours, the body loses nearly all its fluids. Then comes severe dehydration. Death follows quickly. It is extremely painful. Even after hearing that, she held herself together. She would not be the first to break. The next morning, before leaving to investigate the outbreak, he arranged for a soldier to guard her. On the surface, it was for protection. In truth, it was surveillance. Walter then went with Colonel Yu to inspect the village well. In halting Mandarin, he explained that until his laboratory results came back, the villagers should stop drawing water from it. The well was likely the source of infection. At the patient camp, the sight nearly made him vomit. He had not imagined the epidemic would be this severe. Every patient was in agony. He knew he had to identify the source quickly. After days and nights of relentless work, he confirmed his suspicion. The well was contaminated. It was sealed immediately. The villagers were furious. Without their only water source, they now had to walk 3 kilometers to the dam each day. They complained bitterly, unaware that their own well had been poisoning them. That evening at dinner, Walter remained absorbed in his research. The long silence between them had become unbearable. Finally, she exploded. She demanded to know what he truly wanted. He said nothing. At that moment, the houseboy brought in a bowl of vegetable salad. Walter frowned. Raw food was unsafe. He told the servant to take it away, but she deliberately defied him. She insisted on eating it. Raw vegetables could carry the virus. He knew the risk. She picked up a slice of uncooked carrot and placed it in her mouth. Holding his gaze, Walter refused to yield. He grabbed the plate and took a bite himself. Neither of them would surrender. A month later, loneliness consumed her. She decided to write to Charlie. She begged him to come take her away, but Waddington informed her that due to the cholera outbreak, no courier would handle mail from the area. If it was truly urgent, a merchant passing through on Friday might deliver it. When Waddington noticed the name Charlie on the envelope, curiosity flickered across his face. He knew Charlie's wife well. He also knew Charlie's reputation, a high-ranking official, yes, but notorious for his affairs. And the women he pursued were rarely respectable, especially those who did not value themselves. She forced a look of disbelief. Then, clutching the letter, she hurried away. Back home, she let that last fragile hope shatter. She saw herself clearly now. Foolish, pathetic, but she also realized she could not sit there and slowly suffocate. She had to get out. Determined, she stormed toward the door, but the moment she stepped outside, she froze. A body lay on the ground. Someone who had just died of cholera, and to everyone's shock, she reached out her hand. It was reckless, dangerous. She was gambling. If she truly became infected, would her husband feel anything at all? Before she could touch the corpse, Waddington rushed in. in and pulled her away. He had once assumed the couple shared a strong marriage. Now he saw the truth. In the past month, he had not seen a single smile on her face. She tried to hide it, but he noticed something else. Her husband never looked at her. His eyes were always fixed on the floor. Those words pierced her. Still, she forced back her tears. She insisted Walter was simply exhausted from work. That night, Walter came to her looking drained. If she was bored, he said, she could help at the orphanage. They were desperately short of staff. Moments later, he collapsed from exhaustion. She rushed to him without thinking. Despite everything, she still cared. The next day, she went to the orphanage. What she saw was worse than she imagined. Hundreds of children had lost their families to cholera. Her heart tightened when she noticed a piano and moved toward it. The headmistress gently explained that their pianist had died just last week. The words sent a chill through her. Then she learned the infirmary was right next door. Fear won. She left. That evening, she brought dinner to Walter and found him asleep at his desk. Papers scattered everywhere. For the first time, she saw how much he had been carrying alone. She did not wake him, but as she leaned closer to study his notes, he startled awake. She carefully asked what he was working on. He assumed she would not care. He gave a brief answer and turned away. She tried to talk to him. He shut her out. He still carried the wound of her betrayal. This time, she refused to stay silent.
Do you absolutely despise me?
No, I despise myself
Why?
for allowing myself to love you once.
Silence followed, and silence was worse than anger. When disappointment runs that deep, cold distance becomes the cruelest revenge. The next day, after wrestling with her thoughts, she returned to the orphanage. This time, she offered to help. Even changing a baby's diaper left her flustered and overwhelmed. She rushed out in frustration and nearly ran straight into Walter. They exchanged a brief greeting. She fled again, but Walter faced a far greater crisis. He discovered that bodies had been buried near the dam. The runoff was contaminating the water. If the epidemic was to be stopped, the dam would have to be closed as well. That meant convincing the villagers to relocate the graves and finding a new water source. They refused. To them, this was their land. A foreigner would not dictate their decisions. Walter had no easy answer. That night, he told her everything. She had no solution either. If nothing could be done, she said softly, perhaps he should let it be. As she spoke, she absent-mindedly blew on a small pinwheel. The spinning blades caught his eye. An idea sparked. The next morning, he set to work building a wind-powered water wheel. Then he surveyed the land step by step. If he redirected the upstream flow around the burial ground and channeled it toward the town, they could secure clean water. Before that could happen, the graves near the river had to be relocated. The decision enraged the villagers. They gathered in the streets, calling him a criminal. At the worst possible moment, she happened to step into the crowd. The anger turned toward her. Sensing danger, she ran, but the mob closed in. At the last second, Walter forced his way through. He pulled her behind him and defended his actions. He insisted he was trying to save them. Somehow, he managed to get her home. After facing death together, something shifted between them. The silence began to loosen. In the days that followed, their spirits seemed lighter. She accompanied him to his worksite. They stood by the water, surrounded by mountains. She looked out at the landscape. He looked at her, layer by layer. The anger began to fall away. He realized something he had tried to deny. He still loved her. He showed her what he had accomplished. The town now had clean water, and he understood something else. She was not perfect. She had failed him, but she was still worth loving. After much thought, he decided to tell her a secret he had kept hidden, a secret powerful enough to change their lives forever. If you want to know what happens next, follow me. I will share the rest of the story very soon.